without home. They're married to real estate.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast for people who love real estate and want to become inspired and informed. Whether you are a newbie real estate agent looking to get tips, learn a thing or two, or maybe you're a savvy property owner who wants to get a jump on the market, this is the place for you. We discuss our passion for real estate and people, and we bring together our personal experiences as well as our guests to learn from each other. You'll hear from experts in sales coaching, real estate law, mortgage lending, investing, and many local business owners on how to grow your business or your investment in real estate. I'm Mary McCauley.
I'm Mary Elliott.
I'm Mary Forster.
And we are Married to Real Estate.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's Married to Real Estate, and we are back. Mary Elliott, Mary Forster, and Mary McCauley. Nice to see you, ladies.
Good morning, Mary.
Good morning. We had to pivot today because our guest, who we'll save for another time, had an emergency, which, things happen, and we just roll with it. So we're here today to talk about why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. And before we start, let's hear a little bit of what's been going on in your lives.
Sure.
Mary?
I have been super busy. I'm really in a rhythm of real estate that I really enjoy.
Lovely.
I'm, constantly busy, constantly with clients, but I feel very needed and utilized, and like I'm where I'm supposed to be. It's really a good time. Spring market is fun. It's very busy and lots of different personalities all blended together, and sorting that out is fun for me. So I'm busy doing that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Mary Forster?
I'm having a blast, I have to tell you. I am so excited about life these days, and a lot of it is I'm incoming president of the Westford Rotary. Mm-hmm. And there are a bunch of realtors on the Westford Rotary, and there used to be a classification. I think maybe you could have one person in a trade or something like that. That's long gone. It's a service, it's a membership organization that does a lot of service.
Yep.
But then I get to connect with, Colleen Murphy, outgoing president of the local real estate association.
Yes.
All kinds of unbelievable people, and I'm hearing real estate everywhere. But the opportunity for collaboration is limitless.
Love that.
And in a business where there's competition, or has been a history of competition, I think collaboration is really where it's happening right now.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love it.
It's fun.
Beautiful.
And for me, I have a couple listings coming on.
Woot, woot.
Woot, woot. So that's good. And I just came back from Florida, a conference with my buddy James Shaw, who I love. You guys have talked about him
We've talked
nonstop
about
for
him,
3
yes.
years.
We're just going to
Since
not
the
call
pandemic.
him her boyfriend.
Right.
Okay.
That's all right. His wife and I have, we
have a good relationship.
Yes, exactly. It's all good. But no, he did a thing in Florida, Elevate, he calls it, and it's Give, Learn, Grow. And we had 2 days of phenomenal speakers and just mindset and, thinking about your love of the business and how to keep you focused, and in a changing market, how to roll with that. So
interesting that he did it
cool.
in the spring markets, because spring markets, I think there's something to be said for that. I think there's a plus for doing it during a spring market.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, when a market changes, when it shifts, the key is to kind of get back to basics.
Yep.
And so there was a lot of that was going on.
People
And skills.
reaching
Yes,
out.
people skills. I forgot to tell you, I had a referral accepted. So yeah.
nice.
So I'm picking up my referrals a little bit here and there.
Good.
Yep.
Well, so I guess we'll dive right into it. So I have a burning question, ladies, that I'm going to pose to you, and I guess I'll pose to you, Mary, first.
All right, here we go.
What's one thing the podcast has done that you didn't expect?
Well, I thought about that earlier because I was, we were having the conversation, what will we do in lieu of our speaker today? I just went through, I went through last 10 months of being treated for cancer. And it changes your world. I mean, it's even though Mary's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, and then of course it changes. It changes kind of my whole psyche. And I found, as I was dealing with the medical providers, that they looked at me as some 72-year-old woman who has cancer. And I thought to myself, I don't want them to see me that way. So I would always tell them about the podcast.
Oh.
And they would, you do a podcast? And so I said, yes, I do it with Mary and Mary. And so totally unexpected was that I would get such a buzz out of, to my self-esteem, you know,
Right.
so, going through this kind of, I am a patient of so many doctors, so
Where
many
you
providers,
feel powerless.
where I feel like I'm waiting for you to decide for me, right? And
Right.
and so to a person, they asked me if they could be on.
I love that.
The surgeon whom you would love, and then the oncologist, the radiological oncologist. Oh, if I weren't married to that lovely Carl Forrester. And the oncological nurses are to die for. They are awesome people.
Yeah.
So, but they see you differently. You say podcast?
It's true.
It is true.
I agree with that. And Mary, how about you?
I don't have something as moving to say in that sense, but I definitely have gained that sense of there's more to me than just
Mom, realtor, wife.
realtor.
Yep.
Like as soon as you say you have a podcast, people are surprised and want to go look it up, and then you somehow feel a little bit more legitimized in your field, whatever it is. And it's not just, and I love that our podcast is not specifically just about real estate tactics and you know,
Every
how
single
to bring in
episode.
leads and all of that
Right.
stuff. It's really about community building, and I think that that reaches out when people listen to our podcast, when they find out that we have a podcast, and that's really our focus is just knitting our communities together and giving a good, warm landing place for our local residents to feel.
Yeah, and I
they're
think
heard.
it plays to our servant hearts. I think we
Yeah.
all have that.
Yes.
It's shown up in what we do inside and outside of our profession.
Yep.
And I love that. And I think for me, among, you know, similar things that you ladies said, the doors that it's opened, and I think that goes to how people look at you a little
Yeah.
bit differently. Well, if you can do that, then you can host the Apple Blossom Parade.
You can hold
Right.
You can host it.
Or
Wow.
you can, you
Right.
know, be president of a board or president of a Rotary or
a
destination
clerk
Groton.
on a destination, like go meet with some senators someday,
Right.
you know, like all of that stuff
Right.
it really does just add to your resume in a way that I didn't expect. You know, I just thought this would be a fun thing that we'd go do, you know,
Yeah.
every couple weeks. But
Which
no,
it is.
It is. And that's true. But it's definitely, it puts you in a different category. And for me, at least, it has, this is a surprising effect to me. It has really helped me be able to just talk to anybody. I've been good at that generally, but I do get in my head about it.
Yes.
And I think you guys have been on some calls with me before where when it was my turn to speak, you could hear the nervousness in my voice and you could see it, maybe like I start shaking or whatever the thing is, but
It never came off that way.
Never felt that way.
Never did.
It sounded like an echoing chamber in my head of nervousness, but now I feel like I can just look across, and maybe it's the microphone and the headphones.
But it is very professional
it
in here.
deletes the anxiety, and that's kind of a nice benefit.
Plus, you have two very friendly faces looking back
Exactly
at you.
right.
Which helps.
I know you guys have my back if I start to go down a wandering path that means nothing.
Never happened. Never, ever
Now it's time.
Has anyone seen me do this? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the other thing that comes to mind, Mary, I know you probably have another question for us, is what surprised me also was our conviviality. So, you remember the story, we're driving into town during COVID to an event, I forget the guy's name, Glover or
Jeff
something like
Glover.
that.
Jeff Glover.
Yeah, and you're driving and you say, Mary, I want to do a podcast. You want to do it with me?
Yeah.
Really? Really? What is a podcast? You know?
Yeah.
And then we meet you. And
Right, we're in the parking lot. You guys get out of the car. Yeah.
Good thing we didn't meet somebody
I
else.
know.
Whose name wasn't
Then it
Mary.
would not be married to real estate. To be married and,
David.
Fred. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have to say that statement, that question from me to you came from, I had already identified the two of you as people that were inspiring to me and I felt safe with, and that I felt would help me grow in the business the way I wanted to grow. And I just wanted to do something with the two of you. And a podcast seemed like the right venue.
Yeah.
Who knew? And good thing we did have Mary McCauley along, because we'd still be figuring out what microphones to buy.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, you tend to be around like-minded people, and I had been thinking about a podcast, but I was like, do I want to do one by myself?
Right.
Would anybody want to listen to just me talking on and on to, and how was it, what was that going to look like? And so it had been rolling around in my head. I like tech,
Yeah.
and so it was just the right place at the right time and the right moment for sure. So,
I'm honored that you both agreed.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
I'm honored, too. Yeah, exactly. Love you, ladies.
Love you guys.
ladies.
All right, so that brings us to my next question, which is, what advice would you give someone starting a podcast?
Why don't you start with you?
Okay, I guess the advice I would give is do it with people that you like if you're going to do it, not solo. I think have a plan, maybe who your ideal audience is and kind of what your vibe is for your podcast. And then resources. I think had I not known someone here at WestfordCAT, I wouldn't have thought to reach out and be like, hey, do you know anything about this? And then to find out that they actually built a room. Because I think like you, Mary Elliott, I would have maybe thought about what, we're going to have to buy this caster, this Rodecaster Pro. Can we even afford that? Yes.
Yeah.
I just read the label. I am not a genius. I cheated. But yes, so, or microphones or whatever, because you want it to be good. And then I think too, and it was very helpful, Mary Forrester, that we were able to talk to
Lisa,
who was our guest last episode, about, what do we need to know? And she was more than willing to help us, which just like her, we would be more than willing to help someone else start a podcast. So, definitely encouraging and just having that guidance from her was super helpful.
Yeah.
she's awesome.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I would also say that anybody considering doing a podcast is just go for it. Try it, see how it feels. If you hate it, if it's not working out, you can always tweak it or adjust it. A podcast is a beautiful thing. It's not a book that is, once it's finalized, edited, and published, it's done. That's the story. You can create an arc. There's a growth that you witness through the hosts and through the guests and the different, venues that people are talking about. I think there's something, it's like a beautiful amoeba, it just can shape shift and change into what you want it to be as time goes on. So don't feel like you're locking yourself into an idea that you might hate 6 months down the line.
It can evolve and change and grow with you.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all through treatment this year, I was thinking about, I want to start my podcast, separate from this one. And then I talked myself into, no, I don't really want to do it because I didn't have a song and I didn't have the intro recorded. And, you don't have to do any of that.
No, you don't.
I listened to a couple of Lisa's the Make Life Less Difficult podcast, because she has several.
Yep.
And she just starts right in with her monologue, her basically her intro that's recorded.
Yep.
And then she says, and today our guest is. And all she's done to prep is speak with that person 15 minutes before the recording.
Right. So it's very natural, but yet focused, and
Yet they have a connection already,
right?
And so it's warmed up. The person is warmed up, and she's warmed up,
right?
And sometimes she's great and excellent. Most of the time she is actually. But I listened to one that was kind of but I got a nugget out of that was just awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
So don't worry about it. And to Mary McCauley's message, see if the cable TV in your community has the resources, or maybe the tech high school or something like that.
Yeah, that's another thing, is there are resources out there that a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of, as we were about WestfordCAT at the time. But Westford's not the only town that does things like that. Or it just like you said, a tech school might have something, or all sorts of different venues are out there available for people to use. There are public resources, so look into them. Don't feel like it's all just over your head and you've
Right.
never.
Or that you have to lay out big dough or have
Exactly.
a soundproof room or
Yeah.
any of that.
Yeah.
There's plenty of places to start and ways to do it.
I've heard plenty of podcasts where they're like coming to you from my closet, you know?
Well, the acoustics in the bathroom are pretty good.
What else is going on?
Right,
So they're standing in there, you know,
family show.
ready to go. Yeah, well, I'm not saying anyone's showering together or anything, but you could. I guess. The waterproof mic, that's what I'd recommend.
The style of your podcast, what it's about.
And maybe a raincoat. Okay.
We're going down.
We are. We're going down quick.
Nick, help.
No, we're not having any fun.
Nope.
Okay, so what do you think doing this podcast has taught you personally? About
taught me-
yourself or...
It has taught me people want to be heard. People, even though we often get a shy kind of, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And you get a response from somebody that you think that's the last person on earth would say to you, I'm too
It is surprising.
Right.
scared to
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
But people want to be heard,
Yeah.
and they want to be valued. And so even as I propose that we each focus on one of us through the year, do a podcast interviewing Mary or Mary or Mary, because it is so affirming.
Yeah.
So affirming. And we have done a good job, I think, bringing people out, or they have taken control.
We've had a lot of laughter in here, for sure.
Yeah.
And we've been very inspired and very supportive. So what was the question, Mary?
Yeah, exactly. What do you think this has taught you doing the podcast?
I think, like Mary Elliott, it has taught me to step out of my comfort zone, ask. People will say no, and for example, my sister was going to be my first People Change People one, and something happened, and she said no. Eventually, she said no, I can't do it.
Okay.
And she had something, a reason to do it. And I thought, okay, all right. And you just have to respect where people are.
Yeah.
So it is getting out of the comfort zone, making the ask, and enjoying the ride. And I have enjoyed
Yes.
each episode.
Yes.
Me too.
I agree. And I think for me, towards, to play off what you just said, I love that everyone has a story. They have a story. They're not always upfront with telling their story. They might want to tell a different story than who they really are. But I think in the end, that we're friendly and open and a safe place. And I think we get some really good stuff from our guests.
Yeah, I do too. I think that what I've learned is just to trust my gut more than I had in the past, because it was all just gut instinct in the beginning of like, hey, I think a podcast is a good idea. How am I going to do this? There are people that I like. Let's think about it and see if we can do it. And it's been such a joy and a gift from there. And if I had squashed that initial feeling, if I had said, no, pipe down, pipsqueak, you don't deserve a podcast, these amazing women would never do a podcast with you. Why would you even ask? If I had listened to that, then where would we be? And it makes me, sad for things in the past or people that still get afraid to ask for the things that they really want, I think it's taught me that, now I'm a little bit older in life. I'm past that 45-year-old mark.
Okay, she's the youngest of the three of us, so no sympathy here, young lady. You're right, Mary. We're very close.
I'm catching up real fast. No, it's not 30.
Almost.
Like 25. But still, it is that level of my adulthood maturity, which I still feel like I'm coming into, and trusting myself enough instead of all of the trials and the fear that I've had in the past. It's like, no, girl, just go get it. Do the thing that you want to do and see what happens. And if you fail, you fail. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's
Right.
just, okay, well, that didn't work out.
But what do they say? A fail forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what did I hear Yun say today? Something about there is no failure while you're still alive.
Oh, interesting. Because you can always
Because there's always
trying.
there
Another
it is.
chance.
Yep,
Keep
that's
going.
It. That's it.
that's simple and yet profound, right?
That's what makes Jan.
Right. That's really funny. All right, so the last question I have for you ladies is, what is one podcast that you would recommend and why?
Ooh, can I go?
You can,
Go.
Mary Elliott.
Okay.
She's anxious. She's jumping.
Yes, the lady in the front.
Me,
Yeah.
with the pearls.
Yes, lady with the pearls. So, part of the reason that got podcasts into my mind in the first place is that I had become kind of obsessed with Dax Shepard's podcast, Armchair Expert. Not because he's an actor, not because there were Hollywood people on his podcast. I don't really care about that factor of this podcast, but what I really did like is I think something we're also successful at is that he gets into what makes people tick and where they came from, what their roots are, what drove them into their particular field, what they are passionate about. I think he had just such a great and natural way of conversing with people that it just comes out of them, whether they're asked or not. And that was just inspiring to me to just get to, I don't care, say he's whatever major Hollywood starlet he's talking to, and I don't care about how much money they made on the movie or what the Oscars night was like.
The People magazine version you could care less about.
I could care less, but I want to know what made them start acting, how many failures they had in the first place, what it was like when they've been rejected 25 times, and what made them keep going. That stuff is really fascinating to me. And so that's my podcast, Armchair Expert. He's got celebrities, and then on Thursdays he also has scientific experts, in psychology or neuroscience or any varied number of things. And you can really learn a lot. And I think he's, my husband calls him my boyfriend. So
Oh, there we go. Well, we all have those.
yeah.
Oh, yes, Dr. Paley.
I'm shocked.
So surprise to me, it's his wife, Shepard's wife.
Oh, Kristen Bell.
Oh, Kristen Bell. And she does a podcast with somebody else, another woman. They do a podcast together. They interviewed Oprah Winfrey.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And, to think of Oprah being interviewed, and she was so revealing. Like she was afraid.
And she's like the all-time best interviewer.
Yes, and she was so revealing. She said until she was age 50, she could not say no to people.
Right.
She talked about daily beatings that she received as a child.
Yeah.
She talked about the impact of dogs
Yep.
in the Black community, which is generational phobias. Generational phobias,
interesting.
dogs. And you can understand how that would. She was amazing, but the interviewers, they let her go. They just let her go, and she was awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
So is that your favorite podcast?
It was one that touched me the most. And I think also of our podcasts, Dave McGilvery's podcast was really,
That was a great
that
one.
was a great one.
Yeah. So you recommend our podcast?
Yes,
Of course,
okay.
of course. Okay.
We did not pay her for that.
We'll do Oprah second and ours first.
That sounds about right.
So for me, just coming back from this conference that I mentioned earlier, there was a speaker, and he's also written several books, and his name is Simon T. Bailey. And he has something called the Daily Spark, which who doesn't want to have a daily spark?
Yeah.
And today I just briefly, listened to it actually for the first time. And he talked about the word confidence and where it comes from, Latin word, and that it means, be bold. Something else and be bold. I can't remember, but it's like a little minute or less. And just really interesting about, I like that. I like that short snippet of go out and seize the day and be the best you and find your spark and don't let anyone take your spark. And, so he's big into customer service. He worked for the Ritz-Carlton. He worked for Disney for a long time. And, we got the opportunity to meet him and get one of his books. And so, is my new crush.
New podcast crush.
He's my new podcast crush.
Cool.
So if that was your last question,
Yes, ma'am.
then we have our own spark. And she's out there waiting to
Oh, is
join
she?
us.
Yes.
Yes,
good.
that's
Wonderful.
exactly right. She is.
Okay.
We'll welcome our cat director,
Oh, wonderful.
Miss Sarah.
Miss Sarah Fletcher, Executive
Returns
Director
to the
of the
podcast.
Westford Cat. Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Make yourself
Celebrity
Hi,
guest.
Sarah.
Stand back, Dave McGilvery.
Competition is on. Dave likes
Get the race to
competition.
start.
So.
Thank you for having
Up we
me
go.
on today.
Up we go. Hi, honey bunny.
Hi.
Yeah, good to see you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
What a great
Okay.
way to start my day.
Surprise. So welcome,
We made you
Sarah.
put the makeup on and everything.
Yeah. You gave her fair warning.
I did.
That's why I was late this morning.
It's beautiful.
That's
Beautiful
so
product.
funny. Love it. Mary, go ahead, because you kind of
Okay.
orchestrated this.
So, Sarah, a couple of things. We had a conversation this morning in lieu of our cancellation, and I thought, well, let's talk to Sarah about one. We had our first conversation about the podcast and how it got started and what it means for us, and of course how invaluable the cat has been to us. So whatever feedback you have, any observation you have about this podcast and as being part of your programming. Anything that you would like to say to people who could consider having a podcast?
Yep.
Well, I think you ladies do a fine job creating your messaging and bringing your guests on, whether they're remote. I think there's, the world is yours, right? You can bring them in through the
Right.
webcast, which is really great. That you're just local business people taking advantage of a resource in the community. And I think that's
Right.
a powerful message,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And the fact that you provide it to the community is so amazing. And I think that's something we want to consistently get out there is that
Absolutely.
anybody can do this. Call Sarah, call WestfordCAT.
Yeah, call Sarah. Her phone number is 97.
Get your checkbook out to donate for the year,
Yeah.
and then just do whatever you want in the podcast studio,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, yes,
Yeah.
you really can do anything you want. And we do have, we don't censor anything. When
Right.
it's not
Good, because we just did
allowed.
it.
If you have stuff that needs to be censored, we can play it during safe harbor hours.
Okay.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Good.
Underage
Explicit,
19.
yeah.
Explicit adult.
Right.
Nick will go back and bleep out some things.
I think we've been good. We've been on
guys
our
have
best
been-
behavior.
We've been pretty good. Today we're in
Yeah.
the closet
So
a little
good,
bit. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, Sarah, these lovely ladies had the wonderful invitation and opportunity to be kind of hostesses or broadcasters for the parade last year, and they have not stopped talking about
Well,
it all year.
it was the very first time that you guys have ever live streamed the Apple Blossom Parade, correct?
Correct. The Kiwanis put the apple blossom on. They've been doing this for over 50 years in Westford.
Wow.
So they do it every year. And last year was the first year we did the whole Macy's Day parade
Yeah.
thing
Yes,
where
we did.
I was
Forced
feeling
her
very
announces
Katie
a-
Couric about the whole
I
thing.
know. It very much was.
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah, and Mary, you were not able to.
No, I was
join
not
us.
invited.
So it's going to be exciting to have us all
three
three
of us.
there. Our podcast whole.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll do an even better job. We'll be more prepared.
Yeah.
Mary McCauley did such an amazing job of researching each participant,
yeah.
and so we're going to try and lighten the load for her this year and do it all three of us.
Spread it out a little, but yeah.
Well, and I think you get a lot of repeat.
Yes.
Businesses
Yeah.
that come through and organizations that, kind of highlight themselves in the parade, which
Yep.
is, that's a real community thing.
Absolutely.
It is,
Yeah.
and what's interesting is being a resident for 17 years in Westford, I never thought about what it takes to get the parade running and all the participants and all of that, and so it was eye-opening to see, how great it is who participates and what it means, and the person of the year, and all of those really, really good community highlights, and so that was fascinating. I love
Right.
that.
And it's all about the economy back in the day was apples, right?
Yeah.
We did the apple farming. It was a huge economy. So it was really praising the gods, the apple orchards.
Right. Right. Yeah.
To bring us the bounty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk about, I'm sorry, Mary.
go ahead.
It's just an unexpected result of our podcast, right? I mean, a
Yes.
parade host is not something that was on my radar of something
Right.
we'd
But
be
how
doing
fun.
within
Yeah.
a year. But super fun. No,
I
I'm
would have
not
been
saying-
disappointed if you didn't ask us again. I think I really would have
cried
been
a little
sad.
bit.
My feelings would have been hurt. I would have cried a little.
This is
Yeah.
the standard now.
Oh, good.
Lady, hang on to the
Yeah,
seats
I
because you know
know.
what's going to happen.
New York, here we come.
Yeah.
It really is the way community television and community podcasting
Yeah.
and community media works, right? It works from the membership up. So it's these ideas spark and we can run with them, and it's a lot of fun.
It's really cool
Yeah.
to be a part of. It's an honor to be asked to do that,
It is.
honestly.
I agree.
Cool.
It's like a really big deal, guys.
It is.
So
So definitely watch us on
Yes.
May 13th, right?
May 13th.
Yeah.
So Sarah, what I love about what we're doing this year with Kiwanis is Rotary is actually doing its only fundraiser so far this year as part of this event. And we're going to drop 2,000 golf balls behind Abbott School on Sunday afternoon at 2 via a helicopter. So, and it's a fundraiser. It's our own, through COVID, I think, Rotary really struggled and a lot of groups really struggled. So magnificent that the Kiwanis is going to let us do this. They are so happy to let us do this. If they sell balls, then we share the proceeds and everything. And the goal of collaboration, I think, is really the wave of the future. It's to just. And so I've invited
Indeed,
Robert.
yeah.
I'll call Stephanie to come in and do some PSA for the parade and for the event itself. And
Yeah, and have them stop by and at your
Yeah.
at your
oh,
table.
what a great idea!
Mhm.
Yes.
And I'm really hoping our new broadcast headsets come in. So
Oh, yeah.
you'll be
Could we
like-
have an extra one?
Beyonce,
Yeah.
Beyonce. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
So there might be an
All single ladies. There we go.
Are you sorry now that you invited?
No, we now have to choreograph something.
Yes, we do. We have to have a dance. Okay.
We need a
And
dance.
I'm really looking forward to the kind of pre-parade announcing. I want to get things rolling live a little earlier. Right,
Okay.
right, Nick? We're going to do the pregame.
Right. Well, because last year was the first year, and you guys had to scramble and use what you have, and I mean, it was
Right.
amazing to see all of WestfordCAT at work and making that happen, and then. They even had the van in the parade and were throwing candy out of the back. Like,
Right.
it was just like, not only were you, wiring up things, miking us up, TV cameras,
Yep.
stationed everywhere and all of that, but yet then you also participated in the parade.
Yep.
So you guys can do it all for sure.
Yeah,
And-
we're hoping to bring our live TV cam back
neat.
this year. So we just have to get a couple of big TVs, mount them up on the back of a trailer, and scan the audience as we're going
Oh,
by.
that's
And
cool.
they see themselves on
Yep.
TV.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
And
exciting.
this is an
That,
opportunity.
I hope, brings us the Roadie Bowl
Okay.
back in-house.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Grand prize for the best float.
Oh, all right.
Boom.
Boom.
Yep.
All right. It's going to
Throwing
go
them
on.
down the gauntlet.
Yes.
All right,
Yes,
there we
the
go.
Yeah,
Fletcher Library. crew.
All right. Well, they'll take a back seat now that they're building or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
While they're occupied. You
What I
can't-
really love, though, is you submitted one of our podcasts, one of our episodes for a prize. We came in third. We
are
love it.
award-winning.
We
I get
are
to say that.
Award-winning podcast.
Yes.
And we're tongue in cheek, and it's like, whoa, we are.
Listen, I don't know why you keep bringing up that it was third. Okay?
Right. Or why do you say it's tongue in cheek?
We
I take it very seriously.
Like, listen, we are an award-winning podcast.
Yes, we are.
That is
Serious
all
business.
that needs to be said.
Well, I used to say it includes the state of New York. Did you know that?
It does.
I know.
Yes, it
And,
does.
that is a peer-reviewed. So this
Yeah.
is,
Right.
other local
we're
media
legit.
stations,
Yeah.
rating these things.
All right.
And you've
I'm
been
chastised.
You've
Thank
been-
you.
Good Friday. I'm chastised.
Love.
You're
With love.
We're waiting
With love
for
and
the
goodness.
results of
Kindness in our
our
heart.
ECM
Massachusetts.
National Hometown Media Awards. Too.
Oh.
You did submit one of your podcasts. to
did?
that.
Did you?
That's national. That's a
Which
big
one?
Which one did you
competition.
do?
I think I did the one with I can't recall her name. The
Jan?
Yun.
No, from
Oh.
the woman from the South. Did you?
Mamie Parker.
Yes.
Mamie Parker. Oh, Dr. Mamie
Nice.
Parker.
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
yes.
I
She was
submitted that one.
great.
I thought
She
that
was
a
great.
podcast.
Yeah, that was
The
a
only
good one.
episode I was not here for.
Oh, but you'll win still.
Sarah.
You'll still win.
Okay, Sarah, it's only the
name.
president of your board, yes.
A national competition,
That's
guys.
exciting.
Wow.
Well, Amy will love it. She would just love it if she came in came in first.
Right.
Indeed.
Or maybe at all, because as we know, you can still say you're award winning.
Still, it doesn't matter the number, Mary.
What's that joke? What do they call the guy who graduated last from medical school?
He's still graduating.
Still a doctor.
It's the same thing.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Any
Yeah.
other closing words you have for us?
No, just keep up the good work. I
Yeah.
mean, the promotion and the support that you offer us is phenomenal.
Well, and the support you offer us is the same.
I was
because
just gonna
your
say that, yeah.
guidance and your staff here and everyone in the facility. I mean, it's just top notch.
We really feel like it's home. Like, it's very comfortable here. You guys are so warm and lovely and helpful and great at your jobs. Not just nice, but very competent also. So
And
thank you for
respectful.
that.
Have you felt like their respect? you know?
Absolutely.
And they're great actors,
Yeah.
or they're
Right. The whispers when we walk by, there's that award winning podcast.
Oh my God. The confetti and the rose petals.
I know, right? And the red carpet they roll out every time.
Every time.
Really. I do feel special.
Yeah.
And
We
pretty.
should probably just buy those velvet ropes to
I know.
have on hand
Yeah.
for us when we show
I know.
up. Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Yep, the Tournament of Apple Blossoms Parade.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Love you
I
guys.
love you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Love you.
All right, ladies.
We're wrapping it up.
We'll wrap it up. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
See you next
everybody.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mary, Mary, and Mary, so extraordinary. Well, now they're talking about houses, they're talking about home. They're married to real estate.